Welcome back, everybody. And we are here in the audience Anarchy world, here in the lobby. This is very gorgeous. And I'm joined here with Jar.
Hi.
Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Jar from VRChat.
So, what is it that you create here in VRChat?
I'm just a person who makes game worlds on here. Just mostly games and activities, stuff to do so that you have something to do on VRChat.
Heck yeah, for sure. You recently launched your Audience Anarchy world, this one here, and it's been a big hit. Can you tell us a little bit about it? Since it's a little different from some of the previous worlds?
Yeah, it's like my other worlds, it's just a thing that you can hop into with a bunch of strangers, but it's a little weird. I've had trouble describing how it works to people, but basically it's kind of like improv comedy theater, but at the same time it's not. It's also kind of just like going to watch an improv show or like watching a live TV show, because the whole thing is you're going to act out a bunch of scripts that you've never seen before using a teleprompter. It just gives you a teleprompter, you get to go on the stage and act out a scene. Or if you don't like to act, you can just be in the audience, and the audience gets to submit custom little things they can type in, and that goes into the script on the teleprompter. So you don't have to be an actor to do jokes. It's pretty, yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. My friends and I have been in here quite a few times now, and it's just been nothing but a blast.
I hear that.
It's always really funny to see what people come up with for the answers.
I'm so surprised. Sure. I spend so much time writing the scripts that you'd think I'd be bored of the world myself, but people keep submitting crazy texts that I've never seen before into it, and so thankfully it's still, yeah, I still have fun with it too. I love that.
It's definitely a blast. One of my questions too was how were you able to implement various different sets onto the stage? And I was kind of wondering how that system works. That was one feature that I noticed when I first came here that was like, wow, that is super, super cool. And I was just wondering if we could talk a little bit about how that functions.
Yeah, normally a world, the background art for it doesn't really change, but the whole point is that we have one set and the backdrop changes out depending on what the scene is. So if you randomly get a police interrogation scene, the backdrop just kind of switches to just different decoration, and it's just for decoration. There's some colliders in there. It's not too much different than like toggles on an avatar. It's like I have the trapezoid, which is just the floor and the walls with two doorways, because you gotta have a doorway. And I just take that as a template and then just take it out and reskin it, put furniture on it, and put that there, and then make a different version. And it just turns them invisible or not invisible. It's nothing too crazy, but some of the backdrops have stuff that you can pick up.
Okay.
And that goes in and out with the set. I know you're supposed to... In real theater, I guess they bring out the furniture like in between scenes when the curtains are closed and things, but we can just make it instantly happen here in the digital world, which is fun. Also, I have I don't know if this is surprising, I have no theater experience. This is all just a guess, but it
wow.
Yeah, don't know what I'm doing.
No, that's actually quite impressive, because I mean, yeah, this came together like honestly perfectly, and I know it's been a huge hit, and a lot of people have been enjoying it very much. That's awesome.
That's fun.
On a more broader note, how has creating games in VRChat changed over the years? Because I've seen that you've actually been a VRChat user for quite some time now, and done quite a few games, and I'm sure there's some things that have changed over time, especially as like VRChat updates certain things, SDKs and Unity versions, etc.
Yeah, I don't know how many super OG VRChat people are watching, you'll remember way back, there was the old hub and the old nameplates. I signed on to VRChat, snagged the 3-letter username, which I don't think you can do anymore, and then kind of didn't touch VRChat until, I want to say right after Uganda Knuckles was a thing. I think that was 2018. I get back into it because I like have the account.
Right.
And for some reason get into making worlds, but back then we just had the SDK 2, it was called, which is, it's basically, you can make stuff in your worlds with basic interaction, like triggers that turn things on and off, or trigger an animation, and you can figure out when things bump into each other, and you can teleport people. And I guess that's kind of everything that you could do with the old SDK. We didn't have Udon, so we couldn't like program a video game. So I don't know why. I get this question a lot about why I figured out, hey, I'll make murder, but it's kind of just like, that's the most interesting thing that you could cobble together by just making, oh, okay, this starts an animation and then it teleports people over here, and then when too many people bump into the knife, it teleports them back over here and then plays the victory animation. It's like kind of simple as far as a game goes, but I was just really into making more games, just kind of like doing something tricky with the super limited tools that you have. So anything was kind of okay, but it was just a lot of hoops to jump through and very weird. They released SDK 3 / just the SDK everybody uses now. And that's what you normally expect a game to do. So people who are kind of already into that, like the barrier to entry get lower for people who are into making video games, instead of like, oh, you could make a video game. It's like, no, it works. And now I think there's just a different audience too. So back then it was maybe several hundred people would play the most popular game worlds. Like I remember freaking out when like 300 people visited Murder at a time, because I hadn't like seen that. And now it's not uncommon to see like 2,000 people in a world. So I think the landscape of like what you might choose to play is a little different. You want to, you know, make sure that your game kind of has at least like 20 people on it at any given time, so that you can like find a public world to play it with. Otherwise you gotta maybe consider that just people in private worlds are gonna play it eventually, which is fine. Like I have a bunch of very unpopular worlds, but nowadays the focus has kind of been more make something super popular, not gonna lie.
No, yeah, for sure. Yeah, and especially like you were mentioning with SDK 3, that's definitely makes things a lot more possible. I do remember trying to do some Unity work myself. I've done a little bit of world building, nothing crazy. And I don't know a whole lot about programming, but I do remember doing some research for some things I was trying to do, and I got some like older videos that were SDK 2, and I was like, oh boy, this is like a different version. It looked like a different version of Unity too. And I'm just like, oh, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to figure this out. But yeah, I think things have gotten it's gotten a little bit more simple and easier to understand over time. And for folks out there that are, you know, new to all of this, and you're new to Unity, or maybe you haven't touched it yet, don't be afraid. I mean, I know I was in that boat myself when I first got into the platform, but YouTube's a great resource. Friends, you'll meet a lot of people in VRChat that have a lot of Unity experience, Blender experience, perhaps even some experience with Udon and Udon Sharp. So definitely reach out to your friends for help. And yeah, another great YouTube, another great resource for stuff like that. Because with all those resources, I was able to get to a point where, you know, you can build a world and start putting things together and make something really cool. Especially now with the SDK 3, so it's really great to have. Yeah,
if you can dream it, you can do it now. Like, using other stuff you've seen on VRChat as a reference. Obviously, you can't do anything. The tools are kind of limited, but like, it's way more possible for somebody to do something similar to what you've seen before, which might be a bad thing. I'm afraid that maybe we might get like more unoriginal worlds, but like, yeah, my advice is look for the latest tutorials. Like you said, there's still stuff for SDK 2 floating around there. That's just going to be confusing. VRChat's been trying kind of
Right.
to be better with the tutorials and the like pointing people toward like keeping their stuff updated now. Back then it was like you had to manually download and import the SDK every time. It's like all automated now. Yeah. It's easier than ever. It's easier than ever now. Nice. It's only going to get easier. Definitely, yeah, like you said, like if you're thinking about getting into it now, just go for it. It's better.
For sure. And what was the inspiration behind creating this world, Audience Anarchy?
This is fun. Like, I remember usually when I like come up with a world idea, it's just because I wanted it to exist and it didn't exist yet. But actually we kind of it was a fun time. Some friends who I hadn't seen for a while on VRChat, we're getting on VRChat for a night. We're like, oh, I haven't seen you in forever. Let's get that like authentic old VRChat experience. Let's go to public worlds and like try to do like a bit, like be funny, like do a bit with like strangers, annoy some strangers. So we go to this world. It's not like the Black Hat public world or anything, but just like it was like purple grass, kind of small. We're like when people come in, because it was in the new row. We're like when we're gonna, I don't know. We like tried to improv a bit because we thought that'd be funny, but like hadn't hung out together in a while, and we're also just kind of terrible at improv. Did I mention I'm kind of just terrible at improv? So we try to do this thing where it's like, okay, you pretend to be the president, and then you be like the bodyguard, and then we'll like make sure that, you know, we'll harass people who join the worlds. Wasn't funny, but I was like, hey guys, this would be so much easier if you could just like give each other lines like over Discord or something. And man, I wish I was funny, basically, but like we can't come up with anything on our own on the spot. And I'm like, selfish idea, might be kind of cheap. Like, what if there was just like a teleprompter? And back then modding was a thing. I was like, that'd be a funny mod, but you could make a world out of it. A couple days later, I threw together a world idea, and the whole like Mad Libs, like type your own thing from the audience was kind of just, that came later, kind of evolved out of the original idea. But the core thing of like lowering the barrier to entry for a funny performance on VRChat in a public world was kind of the inspiration and the goal, deliberately.
That's awesome. No, I can totally relate to that too. I've had a few times with our friend group where we've done a similar thing. It was just kind of a quiet night in VR. There wasn't a whole lot of people on, and I think I had the idea. I was like, we should go into a public world. It's been a while. Like, none of us have really been in public worlds recently, so it would be fun to kind of go in. And we went in different avatars than our normal avatars, and you know, put on different voices, and we kind of played out these different characters. And we actually had a really fun time. I remember we all agreed at the end of it, like, wow, this was a really cool experience. You know, it's not like every other night in VR.
We should do that more often
with our friend group.
If only I had the creative energy to do it. Yeah. and that people have told me that, like,
that together.
Oh, sorry. They people are like, Audience Anarchy reminds me of old VRChat when people would just put on silly avatars and like do a bit. And I'm like, yeah, okay, that's great too, because that was kind of the original inspiration. Maybe not the whole point, but like that. I loved hearing that. Some random person told me that in a public world.
Oh, that's so cool. And that's the other neat feature too. Yeah, we'll have our friends, while we're doing the different shows, they'll change into like really funny and silly avatars, and it just adds to the comedy and the comical factor of it. And it really puts on a great show. And every time I've been in here, I have a ton of recordings on my computer now, because I'll record it like every time. And
yes.
I have a lot of really great things that. And
we do that too.
The cool thing is now, like, right. And the cool thing is you can get together with your friends, like in Discord on a call or something, and then all sit down and watch it together and have a good laugh together.
Yeah.
So it's even like outside of VR, it's a great source of entertainment and sharing that experience. It's really awesome.
Yeah.
Moving forward, I know we kind of touched on this a little bit, but what were some of the challenges that you had faced while creating this world as well as some other game worlds.
Well, the big problem with this is it just kind of took forever to mostly to write all the scripts. There were other like reasons why, because I worked on it on and off and stuff, but it was kind of just like getting it to a finished state. That's why there's so much like behind the scenes material for the making of for this in particular. It was just such a weird concept that it took a bit to kind of nail down and was very deliberate. Usually I kind of just like, the idea is fully formed. This was like, it changed so much. And like a lot of other worlds, yeah, I wanted to launch it with enough content. The hard part was toward the end. They say that like the last 5% of finishing the game in game development is 95% of the work, or like the mental effort, or like seems to stretch on forever. That's so true, because everything was working and obviously it was like a fun idea, but we only had like 20 scripts, like the same 20 that I wrote. So I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna spend a couple actual weeks just writing things I suppose I think they're funny. I guess my scripts are okay. I don't know, people like my scripts, but I was like, okay, I'm not like a screenplay writer, but if I launch this with 20 scripts, it's not like enough. We need a website where people can submit their own, and I just like head down made like 60 70 like scripts for it to launch with, and like 10 of them are game shows and 10 of them are like infomercial scripts that are kind of the same thing, but the rest was just time consuming as heck writing, and it's kind of like that with other worlds too. Like you want to make sure it launches with enough content, so, and if it has a limited amount, people will get tired of it eventually. That's inevitable. Like, it can't just be always a forever game that's fresh every single time, even something like murder. So, like, you plan for it to stay alive for a certain amount of time. And that's the problem with some of my other things. It's like, how much effort do I want to put into inserting content versus how long you're going to get out of it? Because, example, Tierland, other world that I worked on, Price Guess, other world that I worked on, Spirit Speak, Zoombox, Spy Check, Kingdom Scrolls. Like a lot of games I've made are kind of just, there's a game system and then just a folder on my computer full of content that just like loads into a big list, and the game's like randomly picking stuff from a list. Like, here's a random picture of something, guess the price. And I have to have like 600 pictures in that folder, otherwise, like if it's just like 100, you're gonna start getting repeats. It's not fun after like a day.
Oh, for sure.
That takes forever. That takes the most amount of time. But once you get into the rhythm of it, you can just like Google image a bunch of fun stuff to guess the price of the scripts. Can take like an hour and a half for like a 50-line script. I don't know, because I'm being a perfectionist.
Right.
I do not want to have to do that again. We have very talented people in the community submitting stuff to my website, and then I can just be like, is that funny? Is it like spelled correctly? Okay, cool. I will put you in the world, and then I get to experience something for the first time, actually, which is fun. Usually I'm spoiled on knowing how all the scripts end. Thank goodness. Go to jar.games/scripts. If you like Audience Anarchy, submit me your ideas, and then we can keep this world alive for like the foreseeable future. You'll be immortalized.
Heck yeah. That'll be awesome. I'm excited. Yeah, no, it's been like, even now it's just been fantastic. And I'm excited to see, with that addition to it, I'm excited to see what comes along. That'll be awesome.
Please. And then my job will just be adding maybe more backdrops and music for you guys to use. That's way easier.
Heck yeah.
That's more at my wheelhouse.
That's fantastic. Another thing to mention is game worlds. They tend to be a really great icebreaker when meeting new people. Do you think VRChat game worlds, like, as contributing to the overall, do you think it's contributing to like the overall social experience?
You gotta have game worlds for an icebreaker. You don't need them. I shouldn't say you need them, because you have worlds where it's just you talk, and you have worlds where you bring your own icebreaker, like an open mic night kind of situation, and that's fine. But I think a big draw for especially the gamer type, maybe the person who's like maybe not initially into just chat rooms, which I think most of us are. I think most of us are into, like, we're the kind of person who maybe instead of like taking Overwatch super seriously, just kind of like types to each other in the lobby and brings our own social stuff to it.
Right.
But a large amount of people who can download and play VRChat, maybe they don't do it for the game itself, but like the game is a means to maybe become more social, or like you maybe you do come for the games and you realize talking is kind of fun. I don't know what kind of percentage of players are like that, but I'm sure there's some like game design study that shows that's pretty big. I think it's pretty big. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No,
I get that all the time. People are like, I made so many friends playing this game, or like I got VR because I wanted to like play murder with my friends and have VR. It's like, they mention my world specifically. I think that's so nice to hear. But I see it in like comment sections and
that's awesome.
People talking about VRChat, but not necessarily in the VRChat sphere. Like when VRChat comes up in a different game discussion or talking about Twitch or something, and people are like, hey, there's that thing called VRChat. Should I play this? People are like, yeah, go to a game world and you'll start to meet people. It's like the go-to advice for the gamer who like wants to try VRChat. And I would agree.
Definitely, for sure. Yeah, that's how I made friends when I first joined the platform. And I believe it was in one of the murder worlds, funny enough.
It's been around for a while. It was like you had Murder 1 in 2018-ish? I don't know the date exactly. Right. After you got a Knuckle stuff, pretty soon after that. And then it's Murder 4 has been around for a really long time. But back then, the relic was Murder 2. Somebody told me that they met their fiance there. That was really sweet.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Oh. No, yeah, that's fantastic. Kind of leading into that, do you have any memorable moments when playing or perhaps testing your game worlds?
Oh. Yeah, I mean, my core friend group is the target demographic for whether I can tell whether an idea is hype or not. So there's a lot of unreleased kind of like private world experiments and stuff where we kind of goof around with an idea that I have, and a lot of them are from that. I remember what comes to mind is like, okay, first murder, it was like blowing my friends was like, what, this is possible in here? My one friend is very loud. So we still had the ragdoll system. Like when you stab someone, they would like ragdoll for a few seconds before they respawn. Yeah. That's like an old VRChat thing. You don't see that so much anymore because it's kind of glitchy. But you couldn't mute people when that happened. So imagine it's murder, but when somebody dies, they still have like a second and a half to like scream your name before they vanish. And that's like, the point is to catch them off guard so they don't think to yell. But this guy is so quick on the draw for like instantly like, I'm dead at Char. I'm like, there was no getting around this. Also in Zoom box is like a world I have. It's like you have to guess what the picture is. It's like super zoomed in picture, and then it zooms out and you gotta like guess the picture as fast as possible. I have this one friend and I don't know, I literally don't know how she does it. It's like I can't guess it that quickly, and I made the world and I know all the pictures that are there. She'll like see like 8 pixels of vague yellow blob and like instantly bring and be like, it's a rubber duck. I'm like, it is I don't know how. Unfortunately, you can just absolutely steamroll people in that game. There's no counter. It's just too much skill. It blows my mind. I don't know. That was funny.
That one's really interesting. Yeah, because we played it quite a few times, even here on Cyber Connection, and even though I've played it quite a few times, like I still struggle to guess right away, and then like there's other people like Dalton, for example, who is just like, they see the first few seconds, they're like, oh, that's this, and I'm just like, how did you?
I think it's the same kind of
like
people, the same kind of brain who's really good at Pictionary, or on VRChat, I guess Quick Draw, where you see a little bit, in your mind that there's only so many common nouns and phrases, and it clicks faster than the rest of us. Congratulations.
For sure. Moving on, what is something that you would love to be able to do here in VRChat that perhaps currently isn't quite possible due to some limitations?
Maybe it's not, hey, I wish we had a new thing, but I wish this thing worked better, because when I think about what to make
for sure.
into a world, I'm already kind of thinking, here's the boundaries of what you can do in VRChat, and then I kind of just work within that and be creative within that. So I don't tend to work on a world that requires really long-term like data being saved, or like talking to the internet outside of VRChat, or like requiring a good PC. It's like, I know that like I don't plan to go beyond that. But when I'm thinking, hey, this would be possible if only this part of VRChat was better, I have some complaints. And I think, well, not complaints, feature requests. I've made like topics about this. Maybe VRChat will add them. Not very high priority. But if you see the feature request, feel free to upload them on my behalf. That would be pretty cool. I think you should definitely have an easier way. Imagine this. Like player voices doing more stuff in the game. Not everybody uses a mic, but I really wish we could do games where you can tell how loud someone is talking, or like what vising they're saying. Right. It'd be cool. And we can't set where your voice is coming from. So when I'm planning a world that has like global voice chat like this, when people are on stage in Audience Anarchy, the audience in the lobby, we're all facing the stage. And even if you're like in the side room watching on the TV, you're facing the stage, because you can't like change where the voice comes from in space. But if we could do that, we could have like walkie-talkies where you hear your friend, but like they're coming out the walkie-talkie, or they're coming out the intercom. It would be very cool.
Oh, that would be so cool.
I don't really see why we don't have that. It would be nice. They should do it. So that's probably my number one.
Right. That would be amazing.
Right?
Yeah, that would be a good suggestion to give to VRChat.
Please.
I think that would open a lot of doors for different possibilities. For sure.
That's what I'm saying.
And kind of going from that, if somebody's wanting to make their own game world in VRChat, what is some advice that you think you could give them?
Okay, you don't want to be the person who makes an unoptimized world, because the biggest shame is like when I'm looking at new worlds, especially games or like an activity, and I'm like, this is actually pretty great, but it's not accessible because I'm lagging too much, or it's too small, and I like, I don't want to like shrink down, or I move too fast. I can't like control, keep your world accessible. I don't think you need like 6 times or 6 meter per second run speed. Clearly, if you've seen my worlds, I don't think you need jump all the time, but if you're gonna add it, don't make it like super high.
Yeah.
And please, I think the worst thing you can do is forgetting to like tag stuff as like static. If your stuff isn't moving, just hit the little checkbox. Hit the checkbox. It'll save, like, Unity is very smart, and it won't fix everything, but that will get you so much further to making your world not lag. If it ain't moving, please, for the love of God, hit the checkbox. That's the least you could do.
Crunch compress those textures.
That helps, too, with, like, the download size, so, like, it's not like, I would go to this world, but it's 2 gigabytes. That doesn't happen as often, though. I do try to keep my file size down.
Fortunately.
Because I won't download a thing if it's like 700 megabytes and it doesn't look that fun.
Right. Yeah, I know that, like, with our team, that's one of our biggest key points, too, is making sure that our worlds are as optimized as we can possibly make them because of how many attendees we'll have and you know, how many people will be in the same space. So it's definitely a huge important factor to keep in mind. And we're very thankful for our creative team with the job that they do and all the things that they keep in mind and factor in, and just the way that they construct the worlds so that they're as optimized as possible is definitely great. And I really appreciate what you do with optimization too for these worlds, because I've never had like any issues with lagging or having, you know, too many people in a lobby and things starting to break or something like that. It's always been really reliable, so that's
Thanks.
a huge shout out for that. That's
Thanks.
really impressive.
When I got started, that definitely wasn't the case, especially in the old SDK. I made the buggiest things, but people just kind of didn't care as much. Now I think people kind of care more if there's a bug and the game isn't playable. Maybe it's just because I have so many communication channels now.
Right.
But with Audience Anarchy specifically, I tried really hard to avoid any errors. And if there is an error, there's a good chance it like comes to me anyway. Like I can see like reports. It's so helpful. It's the little things.
For sure.
Like, don't let optimizing the heck out of it stop you from starting on making a world. But the little things, please, they go such a long way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Definitely. Out of all of the game worlds that you've created, do you have one in particular that kind of strikes as like a favorite?
Oh, well, there's definitely underdogs that I like, but I can never find people to play with necessarily, right? On a big scale. That okay. But like my actual favorite, like I go back to it often. I really like Spy Check. It's only 6 people, and it makes sense that it's maybe not the hugest thing because it works kind of better either completely like your closest friends or like friends of friends where you're trying to break the ice with them. With complete strangers, kind of hard to get into that. So I understand. But out of all of them, that's the most genuinely like surprising, because even though I know all the questions, there's no way for that to be an advantage. So I, as a creator, still get a lot of joy out of it. It's got a lot of randomness. I can get behind that and still have fun. But I'm the most proud, like my favorite like creation, probably Freeze Tag, because I love all the art in Freeze Tag. I like invented my art style in Magic Freeze Tag, and I'm still proud of it. I still think it, I just love how it looks. If I do say so, I like how Freeze Tag looks.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's a great one. So what is your creative process like? Do you have a certain method that seems to work really well for you when creating these worlds?
You know, you'd think I'd have that down by now. But it still is kind of just, what idea is the most hype for me right now? Or the most hype for me and my friends right now? And then just try to get a working version before I like stop caring about it. And if I still think it's a fun idea, put in the 1 to several plus months of finishing it and putting a bow in it for other people to see. Like, I don't really have a lot of abandoned projects between the little initial test and the final release, but I do have a lot of things where I try it out and it like wasn't instantly clicking as I imagined in my head, and then I'm like, okay, we don't touch this, because it sucks to like get really hard and like I'm not gonna vanish for a week and work on something and have it be moderately high quality and have a lot of hours put into it and then play with my friends, and it's just like, okay, this is like a disaster. This is not fun. I'm cringing at myself. That sucks. It's better to like make a crappy version and then have it fail instantly, and then just pick a different idea, because it's so easy to come up with ideas, honestly. Just lots of demands from people. It's picking the right one that is hard, but is luck, basically. So Yeah, that's my process. Make a version with no textures and it's just the game code. And then do like everything else. And usually music is usually the last part. That works because I can spend too much time on that. Otherwise, you don't want to waste your time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Me too. No, that's awesome. Moving forward from that, any upcoming plans for more game worlds in the works at the moment?
Well, I mean, definitely I'm doing more game worlds. This is my current, like, entirely
For sure.
situation and plan for the foreseeable future. What those are specifically, it's just an unfortunate timing for you for asking that because I don't know. I published Audience Anarchy in November. It's like 1 month since release date, like right now. And I'm still sort of wrapping up bugs and stuff and like getting the community submitted stuff out of the way, but I don't want to work on this for forever. I want to like put a bow in it, get it on like, okay, cool. And then get some momentum and do another thing, but I don't know what that is yet. So I'm going to do that thing that I was just mentioning. I have some ideas in mind. I don't want to mention them yet because if it doesn't work, then you guys are going to be like, oh, we almost got this.
Oh no, for sure, yeah.
So I try a bunch of things that I've been thinking, I got to get around to that, but I got to finish Audience Anarchy first. And like, this is that time. And also fixing bugs with stuff. So you've got the Murder Winter update. You've got this almost finished, fix all the bugs. Yeah. And then it's like, okay, back to abstract, hit the drawing board time, and anything can happen. I think for me, if you're curious, you can expect either more like large multiplayer stuff, but maybe something that's more innovative than just like Murder, but slightly different. Because I feel like people ask me about Murder 5, and I do want to make it, but like it has to be different and good. So think about what goes into that. And also smaller stuff, because I like stuff that you can just play with a handful of people, and is good. Party games. It's like I've got the massive social games, and I've got the like smaller party games. And who knows, maybe this whole Audience Anarchy thing will spark another category where I make roleplay things, because we're onto something here.
Ooh.
We like roleplay.
Oh yeah.
But we're just bad at improv.
We love roleplay.
So, like, who isn't a little bad at improv? With a little bit of help, I think something like this would work very well for RP. Like, if you haven't done an RP worlds, but you know, had a little bit more guidance with it, I think we're onto something. So I'm going to try that out. I don't know if that's a thing I actually make, but I'm going to try it.
No, for sure. That's awesome. Because, like, my friends and I, we love doing roleplay nights. And as you mentioned, like, even if you're not the greatest at improv, I think this game is honestly a great way to improve on that skill as you practice more. It's amazing.
It'll definitely help you get over your stage
the first
fright.
few times doing it, I was nervous.
Yeah, it's the nerves.
Yes.
That's the first thing you're presented with as the actor in this, and exposed to as the audience, and that's the first thing that I've noticed kind of goes. And then once you are like not too afraid to do a character, then you can start adding your own character and bring your own ad-libbing. Isn't it wonderful? I love.
It really is. It's awesome. Oh yeah. So how can people best support your work?
Okay, I am 100% patreon.com/VR_jar. Obligatory plug. It's I'm not doing the like VRChat currency thing, at least not yet. If you want to support me like to the maximum of your like ability, which it could be just $1 like once or $1 every month if you want to have like fancy stuff in my worlds, or if you just like want to encourage my, how do I put this, like original style of worlds making. And if you think I'm building the VR chat that you want to see, I think it's important that you help me pay my bills and stuff, because otherwise I'll have to go back to my boring job.
Oh yeah.
That's what support means to me.
We don't want that.
As long as I'm surviving, I would like to make this platform have more of the kind of game that I make. So I hope that
Definitely.
you choose to support me. But if not, that's okay.
No, for sure. Yeah, I totally agree, because like I'm really appreciative of everything that you do, and I know a lot of my friends and a lot of the VR community is very appreciative of what you do and what you've put together for us, and it's honestly amazing. Like, yeah, definitely go check out their Patreon. And any last shout outs?
Shout outs? Thank you, supporters. I really hope that like the whole Patreon perk thing, it's the least I can do. I'm not trying to like make this whole gaming thing like a monetized hellscape, as I like to put it. And so I really hope I'm not being too much with that. Thank you for playing anyway, like regardless, like it's been great to be recognized.
That's amazing. Well, Jar, thank you so much for joining me. It's been a great pleasure and honestly an honor to even get the chance to meet you.
An
It's really
honor?
awesome.
That's so nice.
I really appreciate it.
I get that a lot. For some reason. Look, it's just fun. It's fun. I could talk about this all day.
It is. It's a lot of fun. That's amazing. But yes, we'll be right back shortly, and we'll be moving over to a world showcase. So stay tuned for that, y'all. And we'll be right back.
Bye.